Mhm. Burnout among personal trainers is up. Are you at risk? This post shares a new study published in the Journal of Strength and Conditioning Research, actually ahead of print version. And I have to tell you, I've written for the fitness industry for over 20 years, published in places like Fitness Management. Don't go looking for that, it's no longer in existence. Idea Health and Fitness Professionals, and National Strength and Conditioning Association's Strength and Conditioning Journal. And while I was still lecturing in kinesiology at Iowa State University, I often would find statistics from the US labor force demonstrating very high job satisfaction among fitness professionals. I'd share it with my students who were in the middle of their, say, sophomore, junior, and senior years, and, having a little senioritis long before they probably should have. I have to include that this was a time that more fitness jobs, though, were still part time. Students who finished school actually struggled to land full time jobs. If they wanted to be personal trainers and they had no sales experience, they were vulnerable in playing a waiting game and often had to quit, leave, convince themselves that they couldn't make a living out of this because they didn't know how to get more clients. Hopefully, you, my friend, have solved that problem. If not, I'll put a link in the show notes to some help for you. Fewer individuals at this time, when I was teaching, were actually training, even at the 32-hour lumped into the full-time work qualification. Many included were fitness instructors teaching a few hours a week, and personal trainers included in those statistics were self-declared professionals. But here's what they were saying. They were among some of the most satisfied professionals across all industries. Fitness, health instructors, personal trainers, 10 and 15 years ago were absolutely loving their career. Not necessarily were they highest earners, but they lived and worked in an environment that they loved. So I'll dive more into that in a minute. I'm Deborah Atkinson. You're listening to Fitness Marketing Mastery, where I share with you how to use marketing strategies and sales techniques. And by the way, if you use really good marketing strategies, selling is easy, effortless, even fun. And the idea here is that you can build not only a business and revenue, but a life and the freedom that you love. And there's never been a better time to be doing it than right now. This episode is really all about burnout, helping you prevent it, and some alarming news, potentially, that I give you not to cause drama and stir that up. Haven't we had enough of that in the last 12 months? But really so that you can take a deep look at what are you doing to support yourself and hopefully find some ideas within so that if this didn't even cross your mind before now, you at least have some proactive steps that you can take. So here's the question. Are you full-time? Today, or pre-pandemic, more trainers are easily employed full-time. Many trainers are at risk for job-related addiction, which often goes undetected, and because of that is often promoted within workplaces. Consider it yourself. What's the stereotypical trainer like? Like chicken and broccoli all the time, every meal, protein shakes, Lululemons, always exercising and eating perfectly, never misses a workout, often puts clients ahead of family or friends, allows clients to dictate their work schedule. Sound familiar? So let's talk about this. I think you may have already picked up on some of the reasons for burnout, but let's go into this. The reasons listed in the study for burnout among trainers Work-related stressors during COVID or pandemic were this. Potentially you had less access to your clients, specifically if they were an in-person only service delivery. Potentially you were working 100% on commission for training sessions and or you experienced layoffs and probably a lot fewer training sessions to earn that commission on. The need to adopt new training services and delivery options pretty quickly for multiple revenue streams without the education, the experience, or the skills to be able to execute that quickly. If you've never built an online course, didn't know how to do it, if you've never even taking it from the simplest step, teaching your live sessions, whether they were group or one-on-one on a Skype or FaceTime or a Zoom, as everyone's come to know, the jump on Zoom habit this year. If you were new to all of those things, even just those small changes, because they added up pretty quickly for all of us, gave you a little bit more stress in 2020. An inability or an unwillingness by you, said gently, to pivot quickly, to adapt to the new and unique problems people faced during the pandemic and new need for different marketing strategies that reached those people with the right message. Those stressors likely spilled over. Burnout among personal trainers' personal lives, financial burden, and new home life changes affected all of us as home became work, gym, leisure time, and school for all of us, and limited our additional sources of social support. We just weren't getting out, weren't seeing our friends. And even if you can see your friends or see your family via Skype, how many of us were doing that as often as we might have seen them literally in person and really relied on them? I'm including results from the abstract, literally, that was published ahead of print in the show notes, as well as the link to that abstract. And my goal here is to provide you with options and suggestions for you and your team that have been proven to support burnout. So, are you starting your own business this year? Did you try? And I'm going to suggest strongly that you make sure you're surrounding yourself with support. And I don't mean those loved ones and family members who want to see you succeed and they're behind you and they love you. That's one level, and definitely it's important, but you really need the support of somebody who's been in your shoes. In times when you may or may not be able to choose to gather in person, I hope that these suggestions will help you. One thing that definitely can, in a time for many that they've taken a risk, maybe you've begun your own business, and that is knowing, while many suffered losses during the pandemic, and I mean many in the fitness industry, for others in fitness, 2020 has been a huge growth period. It's for those willing to remember that there is a problem and a solution, and whenever there is, there will always be a business model. If instead your burnout comes from work addiction, where you're a trainer who finds herself or himself constantly reading, watching, taking courses, in addition to doing your own fitness workouts and training clients, seeking the best nutritional advice, never breaking for your personal interests beyond your career vocation, yikes. What hobbies outside of fitness did you once love? What people have you stopped really spending time with? What activities do you love and lose track of time doing? Really important that you stop and take a good look at what your answers to this are. So, information regarding burnout factors were included in this study, like job satisfaction, social support, fitness level, and mental toughness. All of that was solicited through single item or multiple item questionnaires. Correctional analysis, for those of you that are science geeks, and independent t-tests were conducted to assess associations and between group differences between burnout and all continuous factors. But here's what I want to make sure that you realize. This study was set to go out and happen before COVID. 71 subjects out of the over 200 that participated, 71 subjects completed the survey before March of 2020, after which we all know a worldwide pandemic occurred, possibly affecting employment workloads and work-related stress. So post hoc analysis were conducted to assess the differences in burnout scores pre-COVID and post-COVID. Super interesting, right? So within personal trainers, because this was conducted by National Strength and Conditioning Associations and published in their journal, and they were looking at personal trainers and strength and conditioning coaches. So specifically, I'm sharing with you the PTs. There was enough of significant difference to be statistical, but it was minute enough. I'm not going to mention it. They were almost identical. So with personal trainers, 33% reported personal burnout, 29.6% reported work-related burnout, and 17.4% reported client-related burnout. Higher levels of burnout across all scales were observed in those who were personal trainers, women, unmarried, living alone, and would not choose a fitness profession again, and took the survey post-COVID as compared to their respective counterparts, who you might be able to deduce. Let me clarify. Married men living with other people, and took the survey pre-COVID. Findings suggest that fitness professionals are not exempt from the stressors associated with personal and occupational burnout. Strength and conditioning coaches and PTs may reduce the risk of burnout by increasing social support, continuing education, and allowing for personal care time, with the intention of buffering all those factors. So let's take some examples. Social support. Now, what that means to you and to me, our own personal definition. But here's what I would suggest to you. Make sure that you're reaching out to your friends outside of the fitness community and your fellow trainers and colleagues within the fitness community. We need both. Mastermind groups are a perfect place to, number one, help you avoid burnout within personal trainers by getting support, growing your business from people who have done it, who are doing it, and who are in the trenches right now with you, pivoting, and be able to tell you what to do if they're doing what you've done or what you want to do. And no one does it alone. I think we've all got to remember that. So your definition, your personal definition of what success is to you is really important here. Whether that is you really want to do this part-time, that may be your answer and it's a right answer for you. And that is okay. But if you really want this to be your career, you've got to be able to envision, what do you want your ideal day to look like? Do you want to have clients all day, every day, filling your schedule? Do you want instead to have some kind of a hybrid model where you work with people one-on-one, maybe digitally or virtually, as well as you're working with them in person when that's appropriate? But maybe you also offer courses and programs that are somewhat do-it-yourself or even organized in a group given situation on a schedule where you're conducting 4-week or 8-week programs, and maybe you are doing a live component. What does it look like? The sky's the limit, but you first have to see it before you can create it. And that too is something you don't have to know the answers to, by the way. So while you're here and you're just visioning and dreaming, you don't have to know how to make it happen. Someone else has already done it. And if someone else has figured it out, it's figure outable. You can learn the steps to getting there. But what you have to do first is really identify what will you love when you get up in the morning. If that defined your life and how you created a living, what would you love? Let's dive into continuing education, because that's a way to avoid burnout. But for some trainers, this can also be a way to lead to burnout. So listen closely. Number one, do it to completion. For many fitness pros, the shiny object syndrome means purchasing courses after courses after courses that they never finish, which continually actually increases feelings of burnout and overwhelm. You have these open loops in your head, and your mind actually can't then focus on the next thing if this other thing is open. It would be better for you to say, I'm done with this. I'm not going to complete it. I'm finished. I've had enough. I don't think it's a fit. I purchased it. I did, but it's costing me more to think about than to actually dive in and do, and to just throw it away. I mean, literally delete it off your computer. Because trust me, I know you're not coming back to this, right? And maybe you will. I don't know. That may not be your decision, but it's better for you to decide, no, wait, here's the first one I'm going to do. I'm going to do this to completion. Then I'm going to do the second one. Then I'm going to do the third. And line them up for yourself in a way that allows you to be successful, because that is the way that you can begin to make something profitable, make the skills and the knowledge that you learned pay off, because being partway into multiple things at the same time probably is not going to be helpful for you. Okay, so next, determine the value of your continuing education based on these 3 questions. Number 1, what will it do for your revenue? Number 2, what are you most interested in? And number 3, how will it improve the quality of the training that you provide to your clients? And ultimately, that question is, how will it ultimately help you deliver the transformation that you want to your clients in a bigger, better way, or faster? And those 3 answers should all be a part of your decision, because there are a lot of wonderful continuing education courses and certifications that you may want to take, but you really want to take a look at, who do I work with? What do I need to know? If I'm not making enough money, gentle nudge to you, listener. The answer potentially is not in more knowledge and more skills. It is in the ability to market and to sell. So trust your gut to answer these questions correctly, and then seek the answers that really help you solve the problem. You know, if you have a bachelor's degree and then you go back to school for a master's degree, when you come out, if you want to work with people, you will still have to learn how to sell. That will still be waiting for you. Next up, plan your continuing education so you're not forced to take multiple courses at one time at the end of your recertification period when there's pressure. And let me tell you, I fell into this trap myself. During 2020, I renew typically, and my CECs, my warnings for my CECs start coming in about June. And then in July, they start coming hot and heavy because I renew in August. Well, this year I purchased the courses, and I was in the middle of pivoting and pivoting and pivoting some more. And about the end of June and July, things actually started to turn around. What I saw in my business was that people were still, reluctant to go into fitness centers. But by that time, they were clearly acknowledging that, if things continued the way that they were, they would be inactive for way too long. They were already at home, indulging in comfort food, too close to the pantry, getting too little activity, too stressed, needing exercise. And so I got extremely busy, and less so because of pivoting, but that was still going on, and more because we had many new people coming in, and yet they needed more attention because of the moment we were in. So I was doing a lot of lives just as extras. So I was stuck. And I am at the point where I have a lot of courses sitting on my computer, but I know this pressure. And now that we know the moment we're in and we know it's going to last, we've got to pace ourselves a little bit better. So on my docket for the next few months is to actually get those courses knocked out one by one, not all at once, not stressing myself out by dumping other things, but making sure that I've got the time to sit down, to focus, to get the knowledge, not just get through the credits. Now let's talk personal care and self-care. So do seek leisure time, content that is beyond your work. Look, I know you. Most trainers, most health coaches have science books on their nightstands. I want you to find books, find movies, rekindle hobbies that you'd forgotten. During the pandemic, I personally took up reading fluffy novels again instead of heavier science-based content. I have You Are the Placebo on my nightstand, books like that stacked 3 or 4 high. But lately, since probably April of 2020, I've been reading Nicholas Sparks and similar books before bed. I mean, a complete diversion from the heavy work and the political climate that we're in. Right now, I will take a predictable, happy ending any day. I also want to suggest that you schedule your breaks. So work tasks just aren't an option. I know a fitness owner who goes to mass at noon on most days. Find a way that you can recharge your batteries before they're dead. Make even online dates with friends to complete tasks so you can make this a little bit of a work-related thing, but do it in a group. Don't slave away working behind your screen, meeting people, talking to people, but just you, and then do your work all by yourself too. So you don't have to be working even on the same thing, but knowing that a friend or two are actually online working on a similar product or project, and you're going to check in with each other in 30 minutes or 45 can be very helpful, creating work blocks where you literally are focused, and keeping you on track is valuable right now. Next up, I'm going to suggest you rethink your workouts. Look, I've been talking since April of 2020 about the facts about boosting your immune system with exercise, but it's not just any exercise. Overdoing it, overtraining at a time where overstressed is actually going to send you in the exact wrong direction and decrease your immunity because of exercise. But moderate exercise is not the answer. I'll throw this in so you can share it with your clients. It's a moderate amount of high intensity and low intensity exercise that is ideal. That middle of the road, zone 3, is where I call no benefit zone. It's not high enough and it's not low enough for base building. You need those two in moderate amounts. That moderate exercise, that is a hangover from the 80s. That's been replaced by science many times over, but it's like a bad rumor that just won't go away. So listen to this. During the pandemic, When other areas of your life and stressors are cranked up, and the tough workout that you think that you may need to take a back seat to less. Before you hit the wall, consider getting exercise instead of driving yourself to injury or illness. I know a trainer who thinks he's fit because he runs 10 miles most days. Honestly, he's actually sick more times, more often than most people I know. That's not fitness, especially not in this climate. Look, I'm an 8-time Ironman. I've been swimming recently for about 30 to 40 minutes a couple of times a week, and then doing 30-minute weight training sessions a couple of times a week, along with a lot of walking. Train for the energy that you need instead of training as if you're not in a pandemic or you don't have stress. For women, especially, less is more. If you want to avoid hormonal disruption that actually leads to sleep issues and weight gain, burnout among personal trainers is up and job satisfaction is down the greater number of hours you work or perceive you work, even if you're not earning money. This is a pivotal time in history and in fitness. You have a unique and never to be experienced again opportunity because the pandemic has created additional problems that require solutions for those who are willing to go beyond just providing online classes and training via Skype and Zoom. Are you ready to create multiple sources of revenue? Not just one, not just taking what you did face to face online. Are you ready to be somewhere else and still be providing value and earning revenue? You can click the link in the show notes for details on how to learn more. And there you have it, trainer. Listen, the world does need you now more than ever. If you're a personal trainer or health coach or you double dip as both, there's never been a better time to walk the talk. And right now, that is not being more. It is not being overly obsessive about your workout or the mirror. It's about taking care of yourself and showing the world how to do that and do it better. And what will happen is you will start attracting those people who are craving someone who can help them set realistic goals, something that fits into their real life forever. What are you waiting for? The world needs you right now more than ever.